With Philadelphia now once again topping 5,200 homeless and nearly 1,000 sleeping in the open, this is the United States' most shocking shame. While you watch this video in the comfort of your home, there are others out there wondering if they'll have anything to eat tonight. What if I told you that one of America's most historic cities, the birthplace of the nation, is hiding a dark secret? A secret that's not hidden in the shadows, but right out in the open, on the streets, for everyone to see. We're talking about Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. But what happens when that love seems to have run out? When the streets are no longer a symbol of history and freedom, but of poverty, homelessness, and despair? Today, we're going to take you on a journey into the heart of Philadelphia's crisis. We're going to show you what the tourists don't see, what the politicians don't want you to know. We're going to expose the shocking reality of life for thousands of people in one of America's biggest cities. But be warned, what you're about to see might shock you. It might make you angry, and it might just change the way you look at the world around you. So if you're ready to see the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth, then stay with us. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our eye-opening investigations. Now, let's begin. Imagine a city where nearly 8,300 people in just 1 year had to seek emergency shelter. That's not a small town, that's Philadelphia. In fact, in fiscal year 2022, the city's Office of Homeless Services saw a staggering 30% increase in people needing emergency shelter compared to the year before. Think about that for a moment. A 30% jump in just 1 year. What does that tell you about the direction things are heading? It's a clear sign that the problem isn't getting better, it's getting worse, and at an alarming rate. But it's not just adults. What about the children? During the 2019-2020 school year, over 3,800 children and young people in Philadelphia were homeless. And here's the chilling part. The Philadelphia Department of Education believes the real number is actually much higher. These aren't just statistics. These are young lives, disrupted, without a stable place to call home, trying to learn and play when you don't know where you'll sleep tonight. It's a reality that far too many Philadelphians face every single day. And the situation continues to worsen. For the third year in a row, in 2024, Philadelphia's homeless population increased, crossing the 5,000 mark for the first time since 2020. This isn't just a slight bump, it's a consistent upward trend that shows a deep-seated problem. While some might point to pre-pandemic levels being higher, the recent surge indicates a failure to address the underlying issues that push people onto the streets. It's a cycle that seems impossible to break for many.
Now, when we talk about homelessness, many people picture shelters. And while the majority of those experiencing homelessness are in emergency shelters, safe havens, or transitional housing, there's another, more visible and often more dangerous side to this crisis: the unsheltered. In 2024, the number of unsheltered individuals in Philadelphia jumped by a shocking 38% compared to the previous year, reaching nearly 1,000 people. These are the men, women, and sometimes even children living on sidewalks, under bridges, or in abandoned buildings. They are the faces of desperation, often overlooked, often ignored. What does it say about a society when so many are left to fend for themselves on the streets? And where are these unsheltered individuals concentrated? A significant portion are found in Kensington, an area that has become synonymous with Philadelphia's devastating heroin crisis. In 2024, Kensington alone accounted for 337 of the city's unhoused population, a 23% increase in just 1 year. This isn't just a neighborhood, it's a battleground where addiction and homelessness collide, creating a visible scar on the city's landscape. We'll delve deeper into the opioid crisis and its impact later. But for now, understand that Kensington is a stark reminder of the human cost of these intertwined problems. The sheer scale of human suffering in this one area is almost impossible to comprehend. So why is this happening? Why are so many people in Philadelphia finding themselves without a home? It's not a simple answer. But one of the biggest reasons is a brutal economic reality. We're talking about a severe lack of jobs that pay enough to live on. Philadelphia has one of the highest poverty rates in the nation, with over 21% of its residents living below the poverty line. And it gets even darker. Nearly 12% are living in what's called deep poverty, meaning their incomes are less than half of the federal poverty limit. Can you imagine trying to survive on so little in a city where everything costs money? And it's not just about having a job. It's about having a job that pays a living wage. The city's unemployment rate in 2023 was 4.2%, higher than the national average. But even for those who are working, the minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is simply not enough. Think about this. To afford even a modest one-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia, a person would have to work an astonishing 86 hours a week at minimum wage. That's more than 2 full-time jobs just to keep a roof over your head. How is anyone supposed to do that? It's a treadmill that's impossible to keep up with, and it's pushing people into desperation. Consider the disparity between what people earn and what things actually cost. For someone receiving Pennsylvania's supplemental Social Security income, they get about $805 a month. But the average fair market rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia is $811 a month. That's right, the rent alone is more than their entire monthly income. And that doesn't even include food, transportation, or any other basic necessities. It's a system that seems designed to fail, leaving vulnerable individuals with nowhere to turn. What choices are left when the basic cost of living is higher than your entire income?
This isn't just about individual choices, it's about systemic issues. Nearly half of all Philadelphians, almost 49%, pay more than 30% of their income on rent. This isn't because they're choosing expensive apartments, it's because their incomes are too low and housing is simply unaffordable. The city desperately needs more affordable housing units. Experts estimate that Philadelphia needs an additional 60,000 units to meet the demand. But instead of gaining, the city is set to lose 1,700 units in the next 5 years as tax abatements expire. It's a crisis of supply and demand, where the most vulnerable are caught in the middle. How can a city thrive when its own residents can't afford to live there? The average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Philadelphia was nearly $1,500 in December 2023, and a two-bedroom was even higher at $1,750. These numbers are rising fast. For example, the average monthly rent for units managed by Pathways to Housing PA, an organization working to house the homeless, increased by 14% in just 2 years between 2022 and 2024. This rapid increase makes it incredibly difficult for organizations to provide housing and for individuals to find stable, affordable places to live. It's a relentless climb, and for many, it's a climb they simply cannot make. What happens when the cost of survival becomes an insurmountable barrier? Beyond the crushing weight of economic hardship, another silent killer stalks the streets of Philadelphia, a severe lack of affordable health care. Imagine living in a city where 7% of its residents have no health insurance. That's hundreds of thousands of people who can't afford to see a doctor, get their prescriptions, or receive the care they desperately need. And the consequences are dire. Philadelphia County has the grim distinction of being ranked the worst out of all 67 counties in Pennsylvania for health outcomes and health factors. This includes everything from health behaviors and clinical care to social and economic factors and the physical environment. What does it mean for a city when its own people are consistently ranked at the bottom for their health and well-being? For those experiencing homelessness, the health crisis is even more acute. More than 10% of people who seek substance use or mental health treatment in Philadelphia's public health system are also experiencing homelessness. This isn't a coincidence, it's a vicious cycle. Without stable housing, it's incredibly difficult to manage chronic health conditions, mental illness, or addiction. In 2021, a staggering 31.4% of people experiencing homelessness had a serious mental illness, and 1 in 5 struggled with a chronic substance use disorder. These are not just numbers, these are individuals battling severe internal demons while facing the harsh realities of life on the streets. How can we expect people to recover when their basic needs for safety and stability are not met?
And then there's the national opioid crisis, which has hit Philadelphia with devastating force. The city has become a focal point for this epidemic, partly due to the low cost and high potency of fentanyl and heroin readily available on its streets. In 2020 alone, there were an estimated 1,200 unintentional fatal drug overdoses in Philadelphia. That's more than 3 deaths every single day, a silent massacre unfolding in plain sight. But the tragedy doesn't stop there. In the same year, there was a shocking 50% spike in fatal overdoses among Black individuals, while the rate for white individuals actually fell by 31%. This stark racial disparity highlights a deeper issue of inequality and access to resources within the crisis. Why are some communities disproportionately affected, and what does that say about our society's priorities? The link between drug use and homelessness is undeniable. A study by the city-sponsored Homeless Death Review Team found that over 60% of the deaths they reviewed had drug or alcohol intoxication as a primary or contributing cause, and a staggering 86% of those who died were known to use opioids. The increase in deaths among people experiencing homelessness over the last decade can be largely attributed to this rise in drug-related fatalities. From 37% between 2009 and 2015, drug-related deaths jumped to 59% between 2016 and 2018. These aren't just statistics, they are lives lost, families shattered, and a community in pain. What will it take for us to truly confront this crisis and offer real solutions to those caught in its grip? Now, let's talk about crime. It's a topic that often goes hand in hand with poverty and desperation. In Philadelphia, the connection is stark. Violent crime was nearly 3 times more common in areas where the poverty rate was 40% or higher, compared to neighborhoods where poverty was below 20%. This isn't just a coincidence, it's a clear indicator of how economic hardship can fuel a cycle of violence. While recent reports suggest a drop in homicides and shootings as of April 2025, with homicides down over 13% compared to the previous year, the overall picture remains complex. Total violent crimes are actually up by nearly 1.5%, and property crimes are down by almost 7%. What does this mixed bag of statistics tell us about the safety of the city, and how does it impact the lives of its residents, especially those already struggling?
Consider the West Philadelphia Promise Zone, an area that, despite housing only about 2% of the city's population, bears an annual burden of over $100 million in direct and indirect costs from violent crime. This isn't just about the immediate impact of a crime. It's about the long-term economic and social damage it inflicts on communities. It's a cost that extends far beyond police reports and courtrooms, affecting everything from property values to the mental health of residents. Can a city truly recover and thrive when such a heavy toll is being paid in its neighborhoods? But the challenges in Philadelphia go even deeper than economics and crime. They are rooted in systemic oppression that affects various vulnerable groups. Take, for instance, the LGBTQ youth, young people of color, parenting youth, and those with a history of involvement in child welfare and justice systems. These groups are disproportionately represented among Philadelphia's youth experiencing homelessness. This isn't random. It's a direct result of historical and ongoing inequalities that push certain populations to the margins. What kind of future can we expect for a society that fails to protect its most vulnerable young people? The struggle continues for those who have been incarcerated. A study revealed that 8% of formerly incarcerated men in Philadelphia experienced homelessness within 8 years of their release. This rate is a shocking 22 times higher than that of the general Philadelphian population. And if you're a formerly incarcerated black man, your risk of experiencing homelessness is 3 times higher. These statistics paint a grim picture of a system that, even after someone has served their time, continues to punish them by denying them basic stability. How can we expect individuals to reintegrate into society and become productive members when the very foundation of a stable life, a home, is systematically denied to them? And let's not forget the silent victims of domestic violence. On any given night, approximately 250 individuals experiencing homelessness in Philadelphia identify themselves as victims of domestic violence. This hidden crisis often forces individuals, predominantly women and children, to choose between an abusive home and no home at all. The Philadelphia Domestic Violence Hotline, operated by Women Against Abuse, receives over 13,000 calls each year. These calls are from victims, concerned family members, and community members, all seeking help for a problem that often leads directly to homelessness. What kind of support systems are truly in place for these individuals, and are they enough to break the cycle of abuse and displacement?
When you walk through certain parts of Philadelphia, you might see things that are unsettling, even frightening. People talking to themselves, exhibiting erratic behavior, or appearing to be in a state of extreme distress. The title of this video uses a strong word, freaks. And while we use it to highlight the stark reality of what some might perceive, it's crucial to understand that these are not just freaks. These are human beings, often battling severe mental health issues and crippling addictions, left to struggle in plain sight. It's a heartbreaking consequence of inadequate support systems and a society that often turns a blind eye to suffering. We've already touched upon the statistics. Over 31% of people experiencing homelessness in 2021 had a serious mental illness, and 1 in 5 had a chronic substance use disorder. These aren't isolated problems. They are deeply intertwined. Mental health challenges can lead to self-medication, which can spiral into addiction. Addiction, in turn, can exacerbate mental health conditions and make it nearly impossible to maintain stable housing or employment. It's a cruel trap, and for many, the streets become their only refuge, a place where their struggles are laid bare for the world to see. What does it say about our compassion when we allow such profound suffering to become a normalized part of our urban landscape? The visible impact of the opioid crisis, particularly in areas like Kensington, is undeniable. The open-air drug markets, the discarded needles, the individuals slumped on sidewalks, these are the raw, unfiltered realities that shock many visitors and residents alike. It's a public health emergency that has transformed neighborhoods and claimed countless lives. The city's efforts to clear encampments and build treatment facilities are steps, but the depth of the problem requires far more comprehensive and sustained solutions. It requires understanding that addiction is a disease, not a moral failing, and those struggling deserve treatment, not judgment. How many more lives will be lost? How many more families shattered before we truly commit to healing these wounds? These visible struggles are a symptom of a larger societal illness. They are a reflection of a healthcare system that often fails the most vulnerable, a social safety net with gaping holes, and a collective unwillingness to confront uncomfortable truths. It's easy to look away, to dismiss these individuals as others, but they are our neighbors, our fellow citizens. Their plight is a mirror reflecting the cracks in our society. What responsibility do we as individuals and as a community bear for the conditions that force people into such desperate circumstances? And what can we do to ensure that compassion and support replace judgment and neglect? Philadelphia is a city steeped in history, a place where the very foundations of American democracy were laid. It's home to iconic landmarks like the Liberty Bell, Independence Hall, and a vibrant arts and culture scene. Millions of tourists flock here every year, eager to experience its rich heritage and dynamic atmosphere. But what happens when the harsh realities of its streets begin to overshadow its historical grandeur? What happens when the narrative shifts from a city of brotherly love to a city grappling with profound social issues visible for all to see?
The presence of widespread homelessness, poverty, and visible addiction on the streets of Philadelphia undoubtedly impacts its image. While the city strives to present a welcoming face to the world, the stark contrast between its historical sites and the human suffering just blocks away can be jarring for visitors. It raises uncomfortable questions about the state of urban America and the challenges faced by its most vulnerable populations. This isn't just about aesthetics, it's about the soul of a city. How does a city reconcile its proud past with its troubled present? And what message does it send to the world when its most pressing problems are left unaddressed? Beyond tourism, the perception of a city struggling with these issues can have broader economic consequences. Businesses might be hesitant to invest, and residents might choose to leave, seeking safer and more stable environments. This creates a downward spiral, where a deteriorating social fabric leads to economic decline, which in turn exacerbates the very problems that caused it. It's a complex web of cause and effect, where human suffering is not just a humanitarian crisis, but also an economic burden. Can Philadelphia truly achieve its full potential if it cannot provide basic dignity and safety for all its citizens? The challenge for Philadelphia, and indeed for many urban cities, is to confront these realities head-on. It's not about sweeping the problems under the rug or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging the depth of the crisis and committing to real, sustainable solutions. It's about understanding that the well-being of its most vulnerable citizens is inextricably linked to the overall health and prosperity of the entire city. The image of Philadelphia, both nationally and internationally, will ultimately be defined not just by its historical monuments, but by how it treats its most marginalized residents. What kind of legacy will Philadelphia leave for future generations if it fails to address these fundamental human needs? So what can be done? Is Philadelphia doomed to be defined by its struggles, or is there a path forward? The good news is that many dedicated individuals and organizations are working tirelessly to address these complex issues. It's not an easy fight, but it's one that offers hope for a better future. The solutions are not simple, and they require a multifaceted approach that tackles the root causes of homelessness, poverty, and addiction.
One crucial area is affordable housing. As we've discussed, the shortage of safe, affordable places to live is a major driver of homelessness. Initiatives that focus on building more affordable units, preserving existing ones, and providing rental assistance are vital. This isn't just about putting a roof over someone's head. It's about providing stability, which is the first step towards addressing other challenges like health and employment. Imagine the impact if Philadelphia could meet its estimated need for an additional 60,000 affordable housing units. What kind of transformation would that bring to the lives of thousands of people and to the city as a whole? Addressing the economic disparities is another critical component. This means creating more living wage jobs, providing job training and educational opportunities, and ensuring that social safety nets are strong enough to catch those who fall. It's about breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty, giving people the tools and opportunities they need to build a better life for themselves and their families. It's a long-term investment, but one that pays dividends in human dignity and economic prosperity. Can a city truly flourish when a significant portion of its population is trapped in a cycle of poverty? Furthermore, addressing systemic oppression and racial inequality is paramount. This involves dismantling discriminatory practices in housing, employment, and the justice system. It means investing in communities that have been historically marginalized and ensuring that everyone, regardless of their background, has an equal opportunity to succeed. It's about recognizing that the struggles of one community impact the entire city, and that true progress requires equity and inclusion for all. How can a city truly live up to its ideals of liberty and justice if it continues to perpetuate systems that disadvantage certain groups? Finally, it requires collective action. It's not just the responsibility of the government or nonprofit organizations. It's the responsibility of every citizen. It means supporting local initiatives, volunteering your time, advocating for policy changes, and most importantly, treating every individual with dignity and respect, regardless of their circumstances. It means looking beyond the labels and seeing the human being. What role can you play in making Philadelphia a city where brotherly love truly extends to everyone, especially those who need it most? The streets of Philadelphia tell a story, a complex narrative of triumph and struggle, of history and hardship. What we've explored today is not just a problem for one city. It's a reflection of challenges faced by urban centers across the United States. The issues of homelessness, poverty, and addiction are deeply intertwined, fueled by economic disparities, inadequate health care, and systemic inequalities. But within this darkness, there are glimmers of hope, driven by the tireless efforts of individuals and organizations committed to making a difference.
This video was not meant to condemn Philadelphia, but to shed light on a reality that often goes unseen, to spark a conversation, and to encourage action. The city of brotherly love has a profound capacity for compassion and resilience. It's a city that has overcome immense challenges throughout its history, and it can do so again. But it requires a collective awakening, a recognition that the well-being of every citizen is paramount, and that true progress is measured not just by economic indicators, but by the dignity and quality of life afforded to all. We hope this deep dive has provided you with a clearer understanding of the complexities at play. It's a reminder that behind every statistic is a human story, a life filled with struggles, hopes, and dreams. What are your thoughts on the issues we've discussed today? Have you witnessed similar challenges in your own communities? Share your perspectives in the comments below. Your voice matters, and by engaging in these important conversations, we can collectively work towards a more just and compassionate society. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, please give it a thumbs up, Share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth investigations. Thank you for watching, and until next time, remember that change begins with awareness, and awareness begins with you.